Hi guys, welcome to Football Unspoken, the home of unique football takes. Now, let's get to the episode. We've got an exciting episode for us today on the FU podcast. I'll only get straight into it with our trivia question for the week. And I want to say to you or ask you, do you know where in League 2 Wrexham are currently in the league?
I think they're high up, but I don't actually know. I don't know that one. Exactly where they are at least.
See, so this kind of segues me straight into our main topic for the day. We're getting through it today. And basically what I want to know is, last year when Wrexham were in the Balamara and they pushed for promotion with Ben Foster and all of that, there was a huge amount of media attention and everyone was talking about Wrexham. But now that they've sort of gone to League 2, you just don't really hear about them anymore. I can't even remember the last time I really saw a news article or anyone really of note talking about Wrexham. And I want to ask you, why do you think, despite the continued on-field success of Wrexham, no one is really interested anymore?
So I think it's a couple of problems there. I think the first one is that new news is always more sensational. You know, Rob and Ryan took them over and made all these signings, got Ben Foster in, got all these names in, and it was new news. You know, it's Wrexham are finally pushing up the table. It's happening now. It's really interesting. But I think the follow-up season, you're always going to have a drop-off. It's been like, okay, they walked, they didn't walk the Romanda, they only just won, but they got through that. And I think it's because the new element to the story was a big pushing factor, and nothing's really changed. You know, it's similar players, same owners, similar storyline. It's still then pushing on. I think that would be the one. The other one is, I also think it's easier to get out of League 2, which is a really weird thing to say, but you've only got one team from Vermont National go up every season, whereas 3 teams go up automatically in League 2, and I'm pretty sure there's still playoff positions after that. So I think 4 teams overall go up in League 2. So it ends up being a bit of an easier narrative for Wrexham if they are going up. If they get an automatic promotion, or even if they just get in the playoffs, it's a lot easier for them to do. They go from Vermont into League 2. I'd probably say those are the 2 main points.
Yeah, so to answer your question, Wrexham are currently comfortably in second, so they will up, I'd say 100%, but unless they pretty much start losing all their remaining games, and they're so close to the end of the season now, they're going to get automatically promoted to League 1, and that should be a bigger achievement in terms of back-to-back automatic promotions, should be seen as a bigger achievement than just the Vanamara Conference. And I remember when Ben Foster signed for Wrexham, a lot of people were saying this is just a publicity stunt, you know, by Wrexham, and to a degree by Ben Foster for his own businesses and his own podcasts. So I don't know, we're a little bit down the road now. No one's talking about it in hindsight. He joined the club, they got promoted, and then he left pretty much as soon as they'd gone to League 2. Do you think it was a bit of a publicity stunt now looking back at it?
Yeah, 100% was. But I'm not going to begrudge them. You know, Wrexham had the opportunity to get a Premier League level player. I mean, Ben Foster could probably come back now and be bottom half Premier League player. So I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to blame Wrexham for signing him. And I'm not going to blame Ben Foster as well. Ben Foster had the opportunity to work with Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, and not only does that open up the publicity in the UK, but it also brings you an American market. You know, you got Rob McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds, who are huge movie stars, series stars, TV stars, and Ben Foster now has access to them, and will have access to them for the rest of his life because he helped them get out of that Vermont National with that penalty save. Like he could almost pull that out at any moment and be like, Ryan, do you want to come talk about Wrexham on the podcast? Like, what's Ryan Reynolds going to do? Going to go, no. And like, it's just not really going to happen. I think that's...
So to sort of not change direction, but advance the conversation a little bit. So you've got Wrexham on the one hand, who've been bought, as you said, by Rob and Ryan, and on the whole, that's gone really well. I think you'd say, particularly if they get the back-to-back promotions this year, literally 2 seasons that they've not been in charge, but they've been involved, let's say, with Wrexham, gone back-to-back promotion, brought in some big players, big names. On the flip side, another club, which was bought by celebrities, let's say, and who should be better at running a club, is Salford United, or Salford City, sorry. I haven't heard a word about Salford City in years. Initially, the class of 92 players, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, they put their money together. They bought Salford 10 years ago. And they were also at Vanamara. And they're still in League 2, like 10 years later. And they're not even plus promotion. They're like mid-table League 2. And it's just gone a very different direction for them compared. And I find it quite interesting that there's a lot of hype around it at the time when those guys took over Salford. And now it's kind of petered out. And in fact, because I did my research on it, when I was researching this topic and whatever, they're looking for, United players are saying they want further investment. They want further investment in Salford. They want someone else to come in, whatever. But the only way they're going to get further investment is by selling their shares in the club. So to me, that's a scapegoat way of saying, we're over it, we're forward. It just hasn't gone the way we want it. We want out. You can't say, I want to sell, because then the price goes down. So you just say, we want further investment, aka I want to sell my shares in Salford and get rid of this. Do you have any thoughts, like the comparison between the two?
I do. I'm first going to I don't want to necessarily disagree entirely, but I think they brought in all these major sponsors, and it helped because of the fact that realistically, if Gary Neville comes to Disney and goes, I want to do a Salford City thing, they're going to go, ooh? Like, really? No offense to Gary Neville, but realistically, I can't imagine the American public know that much about Gary Neville. Whereas you got Ryan Reynolds going to Disney going, mate, just bought a club down in Wrexham, really small town, down in Wales. It's going to be a proper, underdog story. It's not. They poured so much money into that club. I mean, I think his Mullen is a League One player at least. But and it's going to be a proper underdog story. Come on in. And he has the connections to not only get that meeting with Disney, but also be a producer and actually get that over the line. And similar thing with TikTok, like Gary Neville's not got a massive following on social media compared to Rob McElhenney, Ryan Reynolds. So I think I agree in the way that it's there probably is the thing of that it hasn't gone the way they wanted and they don't know how to make it better. There's probably that. But I also think it was easier for Ryan and Rob to create a thing around Wrexham. And that's probably what I would say is the biggest difference. I think the biggest difference is understanding how to get investment in your team. And then also the rise of the all or nothing documentaries coming after Salford City was born, but before Wrexham was bought. And I think it's a bit of serendipity, in the fact that there's now an interest in sports documentaries, a proven interest, I should say, rather than just an interest in sports documentaries.
Yeah, I'm gonna close out the podcast with sort of a final thought, and I'll give you a chance to respond to this. But don't you think that effectively there's been two very different but clear strategies by Rob and Ryan versus the Fast 92 United boys, being that Rob and Ryan came in it very commercially, which is not something as a football fan you want to hear, to be honest. But they come at it commercially, and I felt like the Fast 92 United guys came in very football. Who's the best manager? What style of football are we going to play? Those kind of things. And it hasn't really worked where the commercial style of things has. And as a football fan, someone who just loves football, there's kind of a concern in me about that. In terms of like the commercial side was way more effective than the football side in terms of the final product.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna go and decide to as a Newcastle fan, just bring it up the levels a little bit. Because when Saudis came in, like what they've done immediately is they've created a narrative. They did the Prime Video documentary. and they got on side with the Newcastle United Supporters Trust, and they started creating a narrative around the way they wanted Newcastle to be, outside of the field, not just on the field, not just we're going to become the greatest football, but they came in, they were like, we're going to upgrade St. James's Park, we're going to upgrade we're going to really be involved in everything. And I think that the class of 92 came in with kind of a narrow vision of, we're going to go football. We're footballers, we know about football, we're going to go in. But football's not just about the sport. It's about the commercial side of it. And that's something, as a fan, you kind of have to just understand. And realistically, you want your top level player. I would much rather have top level people who are putting money into it, not really knowing about football, and then hiring a CEO who knows how to advertise football, hiring a director of football who's been involved. Like Gary Neville would be great as director of football, to be honest. I think he'd be fantastic in that role. Someone who's played the game at the top level, knows what he's talking about, knows what to look for, get one of them in. And then you just have an understanding of how to push the team out to the world and let the football be run by the people who understand football.
Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting debate just around the comparison between Salford versus Wrexham and how those two clubs have been run. Anyway, I'm going to round up the podcast there and say thanks, guys, for taking a listen. If you've got any ideas, some football and spoken topics, let us know. We'd love to hear about it. Anyway, till next time.